Hello everyone, I am back and I had up a bit of a challenge in building something, and so I could use some suggestions or help. So what this is the quote mold for converting a C6 into a C2 Corvette. It's dirty, it's sat outside, I've got to clean it up. And I use the term mold loosely because it just creates a sheet. There's no edges, there's no anything. The reason why is because what you do is you take off the hood layer of the actual C6 Corvette, you leave the supporting structure underneath, and you bond this onto the C6 hood. So it doesn't need all of the edges and all of that stuff because that's built into the structure of the piece that remains. Okay, if I was just going to make a C6, that would be fine, but I'm not. I am going to make a Grand Sport version of a C2 on the C6, which means I need the vents and hood for a C2 Grand Sport. All right, and here's a painted version over there, if you see. There are vents that go in those holes, slotted vents, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that are going to go across. You can see right here. There are slots for 5 vents here. There are slots for 3 vents here. The 3 vents here are going to go forward, back, and then these are going to go side to side. All right, I'm going to have those cut in billet. Right now they're aluminum sheet metal, probably about, I don't know, 60, 80, 100, not 100, they're not that thick. So anyway, around 60 thousandths, something like that. I don't like the way they look. They're too thin and they're too flexible. So I'm going to have billet ones made. All right, and so I've actually got, this is the piece that I'm going to ship off and have him make those billet vents. Okay, that's the background. So what I need to do is I need to put this hood onto a C6. Well, if you look at this, there we go. All right, it's not perfectly lined up, but it's close enough for demonstration's sake. The C2 hood, Grand Sport, is rectangular basically, with a curved back edge, with curved corners too. The C6 factory hood is kind of wing shaped. If you look, you've got these wings sticking out from each side. Okay, so when I make the hood, if I were to make a hood for a C6, then I would have a smooth area here and I would want to bond the Grand Sport hood on top, but I want it blended in. I don't want an edge or a step. So if you look on this, right now it's made to have a slight edge or step right there. I filled it in. I don't have to. I could cut it smaller. Okay, so some of my options are one, oh, and if you notice, it just so happens, I was shocked when I found this in luck. The back edge pretty much lines up with the back edge of the C6 hood, same way with the front edge. So all I have to do is worry about this blank area that would be there if I just put the Grand Sport hood on. All right, so if I make a full C6 conversion hood, C6 to C2 conversion hood, it would be a flat, nice flat hood. The area that we're looking at here would actually be the top surface of the hood. If I put this on, then I've got to worry about how do I blend that in. So a couple options are, one, I could try to taper it, but I really don't want even a step there if I can avoid doing that. The other thing would be to only make this wing section in black and then bond it to this step. So I would set it down and then I would make it even with the top edge and bond it from the back side. Now, once I make the first one, then I'm just going to make a mold of it, so that's not a big issue. It's how do I make the first one as perfect as possible so when the parts come out of the mold, they're virtually perfect or as close to perfect as I can get them. So one option is to only make this edge right here and then bond it in there from the back side And then obviously I'll do some filler and fiberglass, whatever it takes to fill in that edge. One of the other challenges that I see is that the center section is going to be open. It's going to be vents. Obviously there's spaces in between the vents. So do I leave those vent spaces open, which means if it rains, that water is going to get on the engine? Do I worry about that? Would I make the whole hood solid, put this on top, and then if it rains, it just goes onto the solid part right there and it'll drain somewhere? I'll drill some holes, some drainage holes somewhere where it won't dump onto the engine. Or do I just make those edges and then leave it open? Or do I make those edges and then make some kind of pocket under this so that the water, again, will collect here, and then I'll drill a hole someplace where I see it's not going to get part of the engine wet that I don't want to get wet. I don't know if there's parts of it I don't want to get wet. I haven't looked at it that far. I don't have a C6 in front of me. Let's see, what was the other option? Yeah, and so the other option is to go ahead and make the whole hood and then cut it this right there. And so then I would only have the thickness of this fiberglass difference. I could taper it, I could fill it, I could do a lot of different things. So my question for everyone is, if you were going to do this, how would you do this so that you can make an initial hood that is as perfect as possible, so that then you can make copies, you make a mold of it, make copies of it that don't need a whole lot, actually ideally don't need any work whatsoever. You can see that I made this hood from the mold. I've got a mold around here somewhere for this. So it's ready to go. In fact, I have spare, there's the mold over there. I have spare hoods that I made. So I've got that down. That's not an issue. These things are really nice, straight out of the mold. I just need to fill in that gap for the Grand Sport version. All right, so go ahead and hit me up with any ideas, suggestions on how you would go about doing this. I appreciate that. And like, subscribe, hit the alert, hit the thanks if you want to donate. And if you don't like what I'm doing, you don't know Jack. Bye.